videos on Voices of the Unheard. We are 2V Stream, a global youth media initiative, and you're keeping it ugly with me, Joe Ugly, and the president of the Connecticut chapter of the NAACP, Mr. Scot X.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Joe Ugly, man. I came here. You got a shirt and tie on. I came all ugly with my camouflage on and
Well, that's the way, man.
fitted cap on. I thought I was,
Oh no, you keeping it ugly.
Okay.
Ain't no question about it. You keeping it ugly.
I purposely didn't wear my suit and tie.
No. You keeping it ugly with me, man. And full disclosure, Mr. X, Mr. Scot X, is family.
Family.
Let's be clear about that.
I'm with me cousin's mom.
For real, man. Let them know, you know.
Big Joe and Little Joe.
You got it.
Keeping it ugly.
Right. So,
thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Welcome to the spot, man. Keeping this thing ugly.
I appreciate seeing you at all the marches and protests. Too,
oh, man. You know, it's 100. I'm supporting you, man.
Right up in there.
100%. I am all about this.
Trenches.
Yeah, all about this darkness, man. Not darkness, is blackness. You know?
You're right up in there, man.
Absolutely. You know, the thing is that we are facing, it seems like if we have a crazy rollback in time, seems as if things has gone back to the 60s, if not the 50s,
further,
man.
Maybe
Yeah.
to the early 1900s.
Yeah, it's really dark out here, man.
Well, when the NAACP was founded in 1909, it was about the lynchings that were going on in the South.
Right.
And when you saw what happened on January,
if I could get you just to come just like that.
When you see what happened on January 6th, when they tried to overthrow the government,
right?
I don't think we've ever seen anything like that.
Never saw anything. And finally, they got two individuals convicted on insurrection charges this week.
That's right.
So it's like, you're right. We haven't seen something like this in
they act like it didn't even happen.
Well, there's a group. There's
the media swept a lot of this under the rug. It's not like, could you imagine if black people try to overthrow the government?
Come on, man. Do you know what?
Could you imagine? What do you think would happen?
Man,
let's talk about it.
Let's keep this ugly. For sure, I can guarantee you, there would have been at least 200 body bags out there on that lawn.
More than that, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing about it is, those who weren't in those body bags would have been hunted down like dogs. Would have been shot on the spot.
That's right.
Would have been charged with all levels of treason.
That's right. Doors would have been kicked in.
Houses
would have been burnt down.
Absolutely.
Neighborhoods would have been destroyed.
Absolutely.
Similar to Tulsa.
Similar, if
That's
not
what
worse.
I see in my mind.
If not worse, and I'll tell you why if not worse, because it would have been a national thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you know, when you look at stuff and you see where we are, and you see how some people are just getting away with certain things, you know, because of the complexion with the protection, you know?
Right.
And it's like, you ask yourself, you know, here comes my next generation here, you know, and I ask myself, what are they going to go through? You know, what's on board for my sons? What they and their kids are going to have to go through? It seemed like are they going to have to reboot? It's like rebooting the computer.
Well, you have to look at what happened in Buffalo.
Yes.
You have to look at what's happening with a lot of young whites going into public facilities and just letting off and shooting and killing people. And when you seen this incident that occurred in South Carolina, when the police picked that young white male up,
right?
What they did with him, they brought him to Burger King.
Exactly.
Could you imagine if a young black male went into a white Catholic church and
my God,
let loose? How would he be treated?
Man, by the time they found him, he probably would have looked like a piñata.
Right.
Okay? The thing about it, that whole Dylan Ruth, we're talking about that cockroach, Dylan Ruth, down there in South Carolina. And you're the leader here of the NAACP here in Connecticut. You're the Connecticut president.
Yes, sir.
The thing that I look at with this Dylan Ruth situation, and I know not everyone, I'm speaking for myself, I have a hard time with my people with the forgiveness rally. I'm having a hard time with my people saying, I forgive you. And they're having a hard time accepting that, you know, I'm forgiving you for myself. Well, I can do that, but the problem that I see comes from that. Then you have the buffaloes, because some people believe that, oh, all they're gonna do is forgive me. They don't feel like there are gonna be consequences. Going back to what we were just, going back, right? It's going back to what we were just talking about. What would it look like had that January 6th insurrection had a bunch of people of our color? So these people already know that they have the privilege. They'll find themselves doing more and more stuff. They're going to find themselves doing more. The more we say, oh, I forgive you, or anything to that nature. We can't.
Well, they know that we're forgiving people.
Exactly. They know we are forgiving people.
That's our nature. Mm-hmm.
We have a situation here in the city of New Haven.
Very serious one.
Very serious.
Very ugly.
Very. And please understand, ugly is peeling back the cosmetics, as it says up here above me. No cosmetic zone. It's peeling back the cosmetics people put on stuff and facing it in its purest element. That is true. That is true ugliness. In other words, ugly is real. So yes, it's real out here right now and raw. No question about it. So we have a young man here in the city of New Haven, 36 years old. He was arrested on Juneteenth, by the way.
Which is ironic, isn't it?
So ironic. On Juneteenth, he was arrested, and he was put in the back of a transport wagon. And on the way there's videotape of the driver of this vehicle.
It's really like a Freddie Gray situation.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the difference between Freddie Gray and this. They have different angle cameras of exactly what happened. I think they used one of the security cameras at a Science Park, was it, in New Orleans?
You talking about the internal one or the external?
The external one.
I don't know exactly where that camera was.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I don't want to say it wrong.
Where it came from. But what was really something is that on the camera, it shows this guy slams the brakes. I'm talking about the cop. He slams the brakes, and the inside camera shows what happened to the individual they were transporting.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Cox. Mm-hmm. He was handcuffed and not secured. And the only thing that can happen. Exactly.
After the Freddie Gray situation.
After the Freddie Gray situation.
So they should have put the proper protocols in from that particular incident, which there was riots and protests all across the nation at record numbers. Over Freddie Gray.
Over Freddie Gray.
And since then, they never put in the proper protocols to prevent the Randy Cox situation.
Well, and this is the thing, and this is something that should have been put in.
That's called careless.
Oh,
not careful, careless.
You're totally careless in the truest element of the word. In the contracted, careless. Right. They could not care. Yes, and it's like some people have no value on people of color. That's right. They don't see any value at all. They act totally inhumane. Now, these officers, we all heard the stories where
it's called the rough ride.
The rough ride. Right. Exactly. I tell my sons this,
It's not just a black thing either. They used to do this to Irish too.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I don't use the term paddywhack.
It's called dirty policing.
Right. This is one of the reasons why. Yeah. It's one of the reasons why. The reason why I don't use that term is because it was invented it started where they would take these wagons, the transport wagons in Boston. They would park them outside of the pubs and taverns and wait for the Irish to come out intoxicated.
And the nickname came from St. Patrick.
Exactly. Where you call an Irish person a paddy.
That's right.
And it's a very derogatory term that started with the WASP.
That's right.
Incarcerating the Irish
in
Boston, and driving them, riding them. By the way, they started with carriages, horse and buggy carriages, and they will speed them up the same way and slam them, do the same thing. Yes, this rough ride is not something that just came about yesterday. It didn't start with Freddie Gray. Yeah, there's history of this. So if
everybody pretty much knows what happened.
Exactly. So and this is the thing. We could pretend that we don't know what happened, that this is an isolated case, or Freddie Gray is an isolated case.
Been going on in policing forever.
Thank you. Hundreds of years. Right. Because the Irish has been in power for hundreds of years.
After the WASP,
exactly.
Then the Irish came into power.
Correct.
And then the Italians.
Then the Italians came into power. And fire.
Right.
Right. In the municipality.
That's right.
So
that's the history.
Exactly.
There's a book called Who Governs. I got the book from Hank Parker, who's the former state treasurer.
That's right. My uncle, Uncle Hank.
Guy's name. He was a Yale student, though, that wrote the book. And he studied the history of government and who the ethnic.
Are you down?
No.
Can you hear me?
Turn him up a bit.
Okay. He's up. What about
now?
Can
you hear me now?
Yeah, I
can hear him now.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
1 2 1 2.
In the place to be, my man Scot X, the president of the NAACP, the Connecticut chapter of the NAACP here. So continue, sir.
There's a book called Who Governs. It was a Yale student who did the research on ethnic groups that have come into power in New Haven, and it talks about the WASP. It talks about the Irish. It talks about the Italians. It talks about the Hispanic, and it talks about the blacks and how we've evolved and other groups have evolved in power and where they live. They talk about the culture. They talk about the unity. They talk about the disunity. They talk about how the federal government, police departments, state government has dismantled certain leadership in order to control the power of the politics in New Haven and throughout the state of Connecticut.
And as New Haven goes, the country
goes. I just recommend the book, Who Governs.
Who Governs.
And I think you get a Yale bookstore.
Well, as soon as you said it, I look at him. I know he tagged it.
Did you get it?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Oh, yeah.
What's the guy's name? He's got a German name.
Oh, I don't have that book.
DHL or something like that.
DHL?
Just Google Who Governs.
Who Governs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But anyway, the point that I'm making is that, historically, people have been abused through police departments.
Right.
And New Haven has a long history of political and race. Well, actually, I should say they've used police departments to gain political power in the city of New Haven and other urban areas across America. And historically, the NAACP has had to fight against these law enforcement agencies in order to push for progress for our community. And when the NAACP was founded in 1909, we were striving to stop the lynchings that were going on in the South. And when we mobilized and organized to stop the lynchings that were going on in the South, many, many times, so I should say 99% of the time, we've always had to fight against law enforcement. Because law enforcement was involved.
Well, you see, this is where...
Let me just finish this last point.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the history of the Ku Klux Klan,
they
had the hoods over their head to protect them because they were political officials, law enforcement officials during the day. And at night, they were terrorists conducting illegal...
Correct description of them, by the way. Terrorists.
Conducting illegal gang activity at night. We must, never forget this type of behavior and how it still hasn't stopped today. The same game, but a different name. But it's definitely the same game. We're well aware of how they move, what their tactics are, and the methods that they use in order to carry out their terrorism.
I always say, if you want to tell a racist, just watch how quick they use law enforcement to advance their cause.
That's right.
Just watch how quick they'll pick up the phone and call 911 against a black person without who's done no evidence of any wrongdoing, but how fast. You want to see a racist? You want to see how fast they start threatening with the law, because that is their vehicle to advance their racism. It's a major tool in their toolbox.
Right. In their arsenal.
In total. Right. And now when we see what happened here in New Haven with Randy Cox, it is such a sad situation. I see you brought in Attorney Ben Crump. He is.
Black
You,
Attorney General.
you got to really.
Mhm.
You have to be under a rock not to know who Ben Crump really is. I'm serious. By the way,
Very good brother.
he's a real cool guy,
Yeah.
and he's
Solid.
solid as hell. And for someone in his position, highly approachable.
Mhm.
He speak with people. He know the
He's
people.
a people's champ.
He is the people's champ.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw him was with the Trayvon Martin case, and I said, "Man, we got ourselves another leader out here. He's coming out."
Yeah.
And what
Fearless.
was really interesting to me was usually our leaders comes from the church,
That's right.
the churches. He came from law, from the law school, and I was like, "Oh, great,
Student of Thurgood Marshall.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly." And I was like, "The great thing about this is that when you're fighting against what we were just talking about, law enforcement, you should know the law.
That's right.
It's not mandatory, but it's definitely a necessity."
Right. And even if you do not know the law,
Mm-hmm.
this is what he has taught many of us that travel with him.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't know the law,
Mm-hmm.
you always go with your grandmother's intellect.
Mm.
What is morally right?
Glad you brought that up.
Because sometimes the law is not right.
I'm glad you
At
brought
one
that up.
time, slavery was legal.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So at the end of the day, it's always what's morally right.
Well, you see, I was having a conversation with someone just yesterday about this situation, about
Mhm.
Ben Crump coming to town. And they were telling me about, it's about these cops getting training and all that. And I'm past that. It's not about training.
You know right from wrong.
It's about being humane.
That's right.
It's
when
about
someone's been in an
Yeah,
accident,
exactly.
what do you do?
Do
Everybody
it-
knows what to do.
exactly.
Don't move them.
Exactly. You don't take someone. Look, if
Whether
some,
you've been trained or not,
you
you
don't
know
right.
not to move them.
Right.
And if somebody tells you they broke their neck,
Yeah.
and you know that an accident just occurred because you were involved in it,
Right.
you were the driver.
And you say,
You had to hear the thump back then.
the thing that really, really drove me nuts. I heard, I saw all of this,
Joe,
and the
did he
way,
know that he was not in the seatbelt?
of course, he's the one who put him in there. He knew he wasn't in the seatbelt. He heard the thump. That thing wasn't easy, but it goes back to what we were talking about, the rough riding. But when I saw the video of when Randy Cox got to oh God, it's so hard. When you saw when he got to the police station, Union Ave,
You said it. It's inhumane.
how inhumane those cockroaches were, how they grabbed him and dragged him
By his leg.
like his legs. It's like, who the, and the thing that
Could you imagine the excruciating pain?
dude,
The
to
way
say the
way
least.
they handcuffed his legs,
oh my
like
God,
as if he can run away,
They
dragged him into the
and
sand,
laid him down
slammed
there
him.
like he was nothing.
Like that man had, he was a rag doll.
Yeah,
to
like
them.
no rights.
No, more than no rights. Like he wasn't even human. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
No,
like-
careless.
Total
Totally
inhumane.
careless.
I mean, it's like, here it is. We
They
see
had
it.
no care at all.
Right. We see and we hear these stories all over the country. And now it's come home. It's right here in the city of New Haven.
It's right here.
It's right here.
And I was in Buffalo at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And
Addressing that issue?
right
Oh.
on my national position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the National Criminal Justice Chair for the NAACP also. So I was up in Buffalo for the incident that occurred in the grocery store.
Mhm.
Where they slaughtered the individuals that were, doing their Saturday shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And we were up there for the funeral for the woman that I think she was like 82 or 83 years old that was shot. Actually, it was the fire chief's mother,
Oh.
the black fire chief from Buffalo's mother that was killed in that horrific massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the call from New Haven that I need to get back to New Haven. I'm like, what's going on? And I didn't know that at the first time when I heard about the incident that the young ladies, actually Randy's sisters, were NAACP Youth Council members.
Oh.
Very active in the association.
Oh.
And-
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
She said something at Tuesday's protest that just hit me like a ton of bricks because it was so correct. And I'm going to kind of do a quick paraphrase here
Sure.
of what she said. She said if one of her children, I actually took notes.
Yeah.
If one of her children, if I can speak, were to get seriously hurt under the watch, and she didn't take them to the hospital,
Right.
just as the cops involved in her brother's incident did not get him any medical attention.
Right.
After he reported having hit his head, he said this.
And broke his
It
neck.
broke his neck.
Right. If the child
Yeah.
told you that.
Yeah. She said if she did not do that, she would be arrested on the spot.
On the spot.
On the spot. And then she went on to say, and her other child will be taken away from her by DCF.
No, she said some
She-
more. And
yes.
she would lose her job.
And she would lose her job because
Both of her jobs.
Well, that's right, because she has federal jobs.
That's right.
So think of that. And then
That's
come
the
down with
accountability.
that's the
For
accountability.
that type of behavior.
Right. But then it comes
That's on
down
a low level.
that
Imagine if you're sworn officer.
you raise your hand to serve and protect. I think, listen, if you raise your hand, I raise my hand in the military to serve this country, protect the Constitution and all that stuff. If I have once in any shape, form, or fashion went against that, boom, treason. If these officers raise their hands to serve and protect, why aren't they hit with the same type of
Or more.
or more? Because they're in communities.
That's right. And they get paid to serve.
And they get paid to serve. So my thing to this is they were arrested. These 5 officers were arrested on Monday, I believe it was. Misdemeanor charges. And I also have the notes on that. What I have here. Do you remember what they were? One count of, I'll tell you in a second. One misdemeanor count of second-degree recklessness, endangerment, and
that gives you like 6 months.
6 months.
Tops. That's the highest you can do.
And a misdemeanor count of cruelty to a person.
I think that's the top is a year for that.
A year. Is there any charges that you think that we're all saying they should have got felony charges?
And assaulting first.
Assaulting first. And what would that
I'm not a lawyer, so you can't ask me.
Yeah, okay.
Michael Jefferson was supposed to be.
Right.
He knows all that kind of
Right,
stuff, so
right.
I don't want to give any misinformation.
Oh, okay, that's
I can
fair.
assume.
Right.
But I want to make sure
And that's fair. And that is fair as it comes.
They're every day in court. So
right. But when you see something like this happen, you do want to see some kind of punishment goes to these individuals of more than 3 to 6 months. As one of Randy Cox's representatives stated, at 36, he's 36 years old, he's going to be facing 20 years or so of rehab just to his life. It's $20 million worth of medical attention for the rest of his life.
I think more.
I would think more.
Yeah.
So, they had to remove him from the hospital.
Right.
And they also had to remove him from Gaylord.
Right. In case you don't know what Gaylord is, people, it is here in Wallingford, Connecticut, one of the top rehab facilities in the country. And they removed him from there because, let me give Gaylord clearance right now. They removed him from there because Gaylord, as I stated, is a rehabilitation facility. And they had deemed him paralyzed for life. Right. So you can't rehab someone who is deemed paralyzed or so. So now it's all about quality of life.
Right.
So they moved them to a facility in West Haven.
They have better equipment there.
Right, at Gaylord than they do. They
don't have any equipment to help him with the situation right now.
Now I understand he have to be turned 8 times a day, every 4 hours or so. He have to be turned so he don't get bed sores.
Well, he has bed sores.
Oh my God!
But he still has to get turned just so they don't get
worse. Right. And as I heard one of his representatives said that this could cause death. Actually,
absolutely. Just sitting still all day can cause death.
Because he can't move anything from his neck down, correct?
No, chest down.
From his chest down.
Chest down. Right. So from his underarms down.
Yeah. Aye.
Yeah.
So is his hands immobile? Is he speaking?
Yes, he does. I was with him yesterday.
Oh, okay. His mother.
But pretty much just sits there the whole time.
My God.
Yeah. He sits there the whole
his
time.
mother.
Yes, sir.
I saw her
woman,
beautiful
strong woman.
I saw her stroke on Oh my God. My heart felt,
She doesn't have a car.
man, my
She
heart
didn't-
went out to that woman.
No one, she didn't. This was not in her plan.
Right.
Right. So now she has to take the bus every day from New Haven out to West Haven
Mm.
to take care of her son every day. She doesn't miss a day.
If you're not in the area and you don't know where New Haven is and West Haven, they're two different towns.
Right. She has to take the
So,
bus there.
Yeah.
And take the bus home.
And you're talking about at least a 15-mile distance, 15-mile distance.
Right. So I would say
based
the
away.
ride would probably be about an hour a day.
An hour a day,
An
one
hour,
way.
Right. With the transfers and everything.
Yeah, it's a one way. It's about an hour one way from going from New Haven, because I believe wherever
But
you
you
are,
bust
she
it
has
out.
to come downtown and then get the transfer out town, which is going to take about an extra 30, 40 minutes.
That's right.
So
Hour a day.
yeah, an hour. An
Both
hour.
ways.
Just one way it's an hour. So you're looking at 2 hours a day. 45 minutes to an hour, however you want to
Whatever.
cut. You want to shave it? I don't care if it was 15
Still
minutes.
gotta
She
walk
shouldn't
to the
have
bus
to
stop
do
and
this.
all that other stuff.
Yes, I don't care if it's 15 minutes. She shouldn't have to do this.
That's right.
All because 5 individuals choose to be inhumane. Now, they have the names here of these officers. I find myself here fiddling here with my paperwork today for some reason.
Take your time, good brother.
No, I
Take
mean,
your
you
time.
know,
Keep it ugly.
hey man, I'm so
I'm just
frustrated
reading-
with this.
It says keep it ugly with Joe Ugly.
You know it, bro. That's exactly what we're doing. These officers here, New Haven police officer, where there was a sergeant on, Betsy Sigru,
I don't know.
and officers Oscar
I think she
Diaz.
was the woman that was in charge of
Right, she was the one in charge. She was a sergeant. You had officers Oscar Diaz, I believe he was the driver, Ronald Presley, Louis Rivera, and Jocelyn Lavender, or something to that nature. Oh, they all want. I think one of the guys, the big guy, is he African American? The big cop. So not only is it, I'm not only dealing with it from a racist standpoint, I'm also dealing with it from an inhumane. I'm going to stress that word strongly. The environment that these people carry,
the hostile.
Mhm.
mentality, the hostile mentality that they evoke, and they just love to run it up the flagpole at every minute that they get. Here we are in
You ever see the
2022.
movie Life
Yes,
with Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence.
Yep.
Yes,
See, I think sometimes we get caught up in the color,
mm-hmm.
but blacks can still carry out white supremacy.
Yep.
Listen, man, I call them bicos, black in color only.
Right. So
That's all
let
they
me
are.
just finish this thought.
Yes, please.
So, you remember the guy that was on the horse who was shooting at
Yes,
shooting at Eddie?
Eddie Murphy.
Not
Yeah.
Eddie. Was it?
Yeah, it was Eddie.
Who went
Oh
to
no,
get the
it was
cherry
a guy
pie?
who went.
Was it Martin that went to go get the cherry pie, or was it Eddie? It was Eddie.
It
Martin.
was Eddie. Was it Martin?
Martin.
Martin went to go get the cherry pie.
I think so, yes.
One of them went to get the cherry pie and he shot him.
Who was shooting at him?
Yep,
Was the black guy that was
the
shooting?
bico.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm making is that there's individuals that choose
Mm-hmm.
to fight against us and support white supremacy against us.
Correct.
Also,
Mhm.
there's a movie with Jamie Foxx. What was the name of that movie?
Oh, Django?
Django.
Django.
There you
Oh.
go.
Come on.
And there was a black guy in that movie. It was Samuel
Samuel
Jackson,
Jackson's
Mhm.
character, Stephen. Yeah.
who also
Yep.
submitted to carrying out white supremacy
Mm-hmm.
at a higher level than some whites.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Because they feel like they have something to prove
That's
to
right.
whites
That's right.
that they are. Look, I'm with you, massa.
And I'm going to prove to you that I can go above and beyond
Yeah, exactly.
the call of duty.
Mm.
So I say that to say is that we can't get tricked in the color game.
The color game is a danger game.
Right. We have to be very focused on white supremacy, what it is, what it looks like, no matter who
Yep.
carries it.
Mhm.
And how they're exercising it every day.
That's right.
And here we are. Look, this is when I look at the racial senate in Georgia. That is a prime example of what white
What does
America
Herschel Walker
think.
carry out?
Exactly. It is a prime example of what white America thinks of us.
Mhm.
Give them a black face, they'll shut up.
That's right.
Herschel Walker is the most underqualified individual that has ever ran for the U.S. Senate or even dog catcher. Okay,
It's a dog catcher.
dog catcher. There's more qualified dog catchers out there than that guy. And they chose to put him up to give him a black face.
That's right.
And, I look at in the Trump administration, what's this guy name? The one who went missing after
Ben Carson?
Ben Carson.
That's your friend?
Yeah, right.
Your friend and mine.
Yeah, okay. I look at Ben Carson, for example.
Clarence Thomas. They're all cut from the
Well,
cloth.
let's look at, they're all cut from the same cloth.
Yep.
Let's look at Ben Carson, for example. This man is the first person to successfully separate Siamese twins. That's huge
Very talented.
huge in the medical field.
Very talented.
Donald
You
Trump
can't deny that.
can't deny it.
That's right.
He goes into the Trump administration, bootlapping. What did he do? He wasn't head of health and human services. Go on. You lived in the projects, go handle the
Oh, but
projects.
you see all this gentrification going on.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And they had a black person oversee a lot of that.
Well, look what happened when Hurricane Maria hit the Virgin Islands.
Mm.
Let's not even talk about when it hit Puerto Rico, but when it hit the Virgin Islands.
Mm.
There are homes that were destroyed through Maria
Mm-hmm.
that is now in this current administration is being addressed.
Mm.
The U.S. Virgin Islands,
How long has that been?
at least, 4 years now? What was it, 2018, somewhere around there?
It's about that.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're looking at this now and you say, this man did not care one damn bit about those blacks down there.
Careless.
Totally careless. Inhumane mentality.
Consistency.
Consistency. So those individuals
So-
who get in those spaces,
That white supremacy has the common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
that's that colonialism at its best.
That's right.
At its best.
That's right.
You
Imperialistic mentality.
Someone sent me the Trevor Noah piece where he showed that the coach for, I believe it was Egypt, one of the big soccer teams,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't speak Egyptian or whatever. One of the teams. He is French, and he could not speak their language, so he had to speak, and they could not understand French. They didn't know French. He had to speak in English, and the translator would then translate to them in their native tongue. And I'm looking at this, and on the outside you can say, "Oh shoot, whoa," but if you really look at the depths of it, English colonialism is so strong that in order for me to speak to you in your language, I don't have to know it, but I will learn the colonial language. And everybody in here has some touch of it. That's the realities of that clip. And I was like, damn.
It's deep rooted.
Yes, it is deep rooted. So when we talk about, and the struggle continues, and Scot X, I got to tell you, speaking with Scot X here, the president of the Connecticut chapter of the NAACP, he's also just informed me that he's also on the
National Criminal Justice Chair.
He's on the National Criminal Justice Chair of the NAACP as well. So when something pops up anywhere in the country, you shows up. You
Not
show
always,
up.
but,
But most of the time they call you. They give you a shout. Is that how you connect with Ben Crump?
Yeah.
Good brother. What about Al Sharpton? Do you connect with him?
Yeah, we connect. I went way back. Actually, Al Sharpton swore me in when I first became the New Haven NAACP.
Oh, is that right?
That was back in 2000.
Well, I remember when you first came in. It was years ago. Years ago.
22 years now.
Whatever happened to First Fridays, man?
I got to bring it back.
Yeah. First Fridays, in case you don't know, he used to have at, remember when it was Sports Haven?
We used to do them all over.
All over, I know. He used to do this big event First Friday with the NAACP.
That's right.
And you were up at Foxwood. You also are part of the Boxing Commission, weren't
I'm
you?
the chairman of the Boxing Commission.
Boxing Commission here for the state of Connecticut. Yeah. So
Chad Dawson.
exactly. So any boxing that goes down
Shout
at
out to Chad
Foxwood,
Dawson.
there you go.
No, not at Foxwood.
Or where? In
Foxwood.
Connecticut.
No. Yeah, I'm the chairman of the Connecticut
Yeah.
Boxing Commission.
So any boxing that goes down in Connecticut,
All
you got to be a
combat
part.
sports.
Oh, okay.
So MMA, boxing, all combat sports.
They have to go through you. or deal with you in some way or another.
Right. There's a person in charge at Mohegan, and there's also a person in charge at Foxwood.
Oh, okay.
They report to those individuals. In reference to the state of Connecticut, I'm the chairman of the boxing commission.
My man, Scot X, family, in the building, keeping it ugly with me.
Ugly.
keeping it real ugly, man.
No cosmetic zone. I love it.
Thank you, man. What's some of the things that the NAACP are doing right now that you would like to elevate right here in Connecticut?
Well, one of the major subjects that I'll be honest with you, I haven't been able to move the needle.
What's that?
You know, everybody talks about their successes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I've been really working hard on for many, many years that I haven't been able to move the needle around is minority teacher recruitment.
Oh.
Getting black teachers in the classroom with black children.
Before we go any further, let me just say a couple things real quick. First one.
That's been a rough one. Bro.
Yeah. First one is, I'm going to say Reggie Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, some like him, some don't like him. I want to tell you this much about him, that I noticed that he's done.
I talked to him today.
Great. Oh, man. How's he doing?
He's hanging in there, man. He's
Good.
up there in age.
Yeah.
Go over there and check him out and hang out with him a little bit.
Way to go. Way to go.
Guy.
Yeah. Now, Doc Mayo has done such great things here in the city of New Haven. He has employed, or should I say, made more upper middle class blacks in this area,
right.
in the greater New Haven area, than anyone else.
In the history.
In the history of New Haven County.
I would agree with that.
He has made more upper class, lot of upper middle class, right. If not upper class blacks here in this area.
Some of the best in the nation.
Some of the best in the nation. Reggie Mayo has elevated.
Absolutely. Got
to respect that. Another thing he created.
Dow started it, but he took it to another level.
He took it to another level. Yes,
and he had
correct.
A 20-something year run.
Correct. Another thing that he incorporated was what they call those teachers, the people who fill in
paraprofessionals.
Paraprofessionals.
He took care of a lot of them.
He created a paraprofessional, but the problem with that.
I want to get back to minority teachers.
No, this is definitely going to come right back to it.
Because this is.
No, this is going to come right to it.
Cool.
The problem with that is paraprofessionals were not supposed to be on the job 25 years. Paraprofessionals weren't supposed to be on the job as long as they are. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be that pipeline to what you were talking about, bringing in people from the community who understood our kids, minority teachers, and putting them in a pipeline where they should not have been there. They should have been elevated into getting their certificate, getting the next degree, getting whatever it takes to get all the stuff that were supposed to be to help move these individuals into those spaces. Yes, they were roadblocked by the shoreline people coming and getting those jobs and sitting there and wouldn't elevate.
I think it's a little deeper than that.
I'm going to let you go
into this.
And this is why I want to let you go.
All right. So in reference to minority teacher recruitment, in reference to, I've been working tirelessly to try to move the needle on this particular issue. Mm-hmm. It seems historically it happened around the 60s when the protests and the marches and rallies happened during that particular area. And since then, we saw a wave after the protests of the 60s and the 70s. That's when the Dr. Mayos and the Charles Warners and the Mr. Turners, Les Turner and all those guys came into New Haven from the South, from historical black colleges.
Hank Parker too. He came in from
Hampton.
Yeah, right. He came in from and he came in from Baltimore.
Right. So there was an influx of blacks from the South that came to New Haven for these opportunities in education. And in the 70s and the 80s, you started seeing these professional blacks in the community. They started becoming baseball coaches and little league coaches. You've seen them in the churches, and you start to see a very strong black community elevate in the city of New Haven politically. After that, in the 80s now, you're talking about John Daniels wanting to run for mayor, Jesse Jackson striving to run for president. You saw a strong black power movement starting to come in the 80s. The Million Man March, all of these different activists coming out and advocating for advancement in America. And then you've seen a lull of of this advancement coming on into New Haven
Mm-hmm.
and other urban areas across the state of Connecticut. And I've watched it, and many others have watched it in reference to the next generation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really come to a point now where if you were to have a festival or a grand opening event for the 2023 year of New Haven Board of Education or Hartford or Waterbury or Bridgeport, any of these urban areas, you had all the teachers stand up, the actual individuals that teach individuals in the classrooms, not principals,
Mm-hmm.
not security, not
Mhm.
paraprofessionals, not anything. I'm just talking about actual teachers in the classroom. You would see damn near 90 to 95% white people from the suburbs.
If not more. And that's what I was pointing to.
Right.
The roadblock.
Right. So the point that I'm getting to is that there has been a strong effort in reference to campaigns and marketing campaigns
Right.
to get black athletes on the field.
Right.
And they've shown how to recruit and market and advertise to the black athlete to get those individuals to come to various academic institutions
Mm-hmm.
to play ball and to play
Yep.
sports.
Yep.
But they haven't had that same type of effort to bring educators or
Right.
develop educators
Right.
in America. Now they can
All
they have the resources.
entrepreneurs. All entrepreneurs.
I'm just talking about minority teachers. I don't
Go
want to stay on
for
the
it.
subject.
Let's stay on it.
I'm staying on subject.
Let's stay on it because I'm going to follow
Because
up.
I haven't been able to move the needle in this particular area.
Uh-huh.
All right, so that's why I want to stick to this.
Okay.
And there's many other areas that we have to
Yeah.
advance in, but just in reference to those that educate our children.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when we talk about the violence in our communities,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about where does this stuff start at,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about the school to prison pipeline, right? So when you're in the classroom, Joe,
Mhm.
and a young kid stands up and he's dancing and doing all this rap stuff,
Mhm.
you know rap.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out of order.
Right.
We understand the culture.
Right.
Man, if you don't sit your behind down,
Right. Right.
and then he sits down.
Right.
But he's not, you going to kick him out and suspend him?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a culture issue.
Mm-hmm.
He gets in your face, you ain't paying him no mind.
Mm-hmm.
He just want a little attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? He get in your face, man,
Yep.
sit down, man. Grab him in the little head,
Yeah, yeah.
boom, 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 showing that,
Yeah.
Now he
Right.
gets suspended for that.
Right.
But that's a natural thing for us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing is that now once you start putting them in this pipeline of going to detention,
Mm-hmm.
getting suspended, and all those different type of methods and tactics that they use, there's a difference between discipline and then trying to destroy somebody's life,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We know how to discipline a young man,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But there's a difference when you try to destroy somebody's life and you start getting arrested in school,
Yes.
right? Then cops start coming into school,
Right.
right? And then now it's creating a culture for a young person to now start conducting themselves or being seen as a threat to society.
Correct.
And then this is what they're talking about, the school to prison pipeline. So I think that it's extremely important that we infiltrate
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that we use our political strength
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we make sure that these systems
Mhm.
market and advertise
Mhm.
teaching the
Yes.
same way and pay teachers
Mm-hmm.
the way that they pay athletes.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Because
point.
sport and play is
Mhm.
so much more important
Right.
than education right now.
You know,
And it's really killing our community.
it's totally killing our
Mhm.
community, destroying our community. I look at here in the city of New Haven, we had a program. You're familiar with VOC, the reporting.
Very well.
Okay.
We used them for the Million Jobs campaign for the formerly incarcerated.
Okay. Well,
The owner.
when that came about, and I run these programs here with these kids, and I remember Jason Bartlett at the time came over one day and he goes, "All of these kids you have here, I don't get any reports on them." I'm like, because I don't want to create a goddamn tracker on these kids for every time that they do something bad. I don't want that if I'm writing something that they did something here, it shows up and interpreted out in a different way. And I was totally against it. And I said, listen, I remember one time he told me, well, you're not going to get a check if you don't do it. And I said, well, we're going to have to leave that check alone. Because I was always concerned.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah, I was always concerned about when you start tracking kids' behavior,
Mhm.
what it can do for them or to them in the long run.
In the wrong
And they
people's
don't
hands.
exactly.
Right. In the right people's hands, it helps.
But that's always the good intent. I'm not saying
Right.
it didn't start with good intentions.
Right.
But when
But it
I
can be
see
taken
when I see the
historically, I would agree
ability,
with that.
exactly, when I see the ability for abuse, I'm always pause. Okay, I'm going to hold back.
That's a good precaution.
No, exactly.
That's an
So
excellent precaution.
look, I
Looking
lost
at the
a
history.
I lost a check because of it,
Right.
and I didn't mind.
Right.
No, I did mind because I needed the damn check. But when I look at these
Once
kids
again,
here,
what's morally right?
exactly.
Right.
When I look at these kids and I said, look, what's more important to me is that these kids have a future.
Right.
And when I work with, all the programs that I do here,
what's the cost if you become a billionaire and you sold your soul?
Exactly.
Because money ain't everything.
You can't.
Catch
Look,
cancer tomorrow.
To be honest, I can't afford
Right.
to ruin the future
Right. And you got to
of
be right
my people.
And you got to be right with God. So
Exactly.
Good conscience.
Look,
is telling you, man.
I
Pump
can't.
your brakes.
Someone said, well, you can't afford to leave the money behind. Probably, but I can't afford to destroy a community.
Right.
I can't afford to destroy the next generation. I cannot afford that. I'm going to have to find other ways to fund whatever. Yes, well, that's the way I look at it. Look, I do this thing.
Right.
And my focus on this, like, for example, our sports show, run by kids. They only cover high school sports.
That's good.
And I'm telling you, you watch how they are with it. The poets, young people expressing themselves with poetry, Z-Talk, Gen Z talking around. You hear them fully expressed.
I got a hip-hop TV show, man. I got to come cover you, man.
You come cover me, man.
ThatLifeTVShow.com. Check it out. And
Please say it again.
I'm going to have Joe Ugly featured on the show.
Absolutely.
Big Joe and Little Joe.
All right. I'll be there.
Make sure you got the afro.
Oh, the afro stays forever, man. I don't play that. It's not a style, it's a statement.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he's serious.
Oh,
yes.
That's my son, Doug. That's it. All right, I'm not going to say this.
You got to listen to this all your life.
Go ahead.
But just about. It is.
A lot of young brothers don't have it.
Nah, they don't. So I appreciate it.
It's extremely important, man. I love this right here.
Thanks, man.
Right.
Thanks.
It means a lot. We don't see a lot of this in our community.
But some kids grab it and appreciate it. His brother, is Maul. Hey, hey, mom. I need that first class ticket.
Oh, man.
I need that first class ticket to Japan, and so Dad ain't got that first class ticket money.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is like, we building something.
Well, Joe, man, I've
Listen.
always admired you.
Thank you. Man.
Me and you always knock heads in the
Always.
face.
We've been knocking heads since we were little kids in
Since
St.
little,
Luke's.
man. But it's always iron rubbing against iron and making each other sharp. So
Absolutely.
if you want to spar, you got to spar against individuals that are sharp, that are hard, that are tough, and that makes you better.
Enough.
If you practice against weakness, then
You're going to end up being weak.
So you always got to go against sharp individuals.
Absolutely.
Brilliant
Listen, man.
individuals.
You and I, we have
And
great
you just
history.
turned me on to something. You were just talking in reference to the decision that you had to make around that check.
Mm.
And I'm always confronted with those type of situations.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a leadership position.
Right.
So I have to make decisions. And at the end of the day, I just think this is great advice to anybody that's listening out there. Whether you're brilliant in law, whether you're brilliant in medicine, whether you're brilliant in any different field or industry or anything like that. At the end of the day, just do what's morally right. Nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
Nobody's perfect.
Oh, I damn sure ain't perfect.
But just try to do right always.
But okay, let me flex now.
Just try to do right.
I ain't perfect, but goddamn, I'm the closest thing to perfect you ever see. Nah, that's just me shooting it.
Just try to do right.
Listen, man,
try your best to do right.
It is so great having you
we make
in
mistakes
here.
and stumble or whatever, but just try to do right.
It is so great having you in here, Scott. It's like every time that I talking with you, man. Radio. Listen, man, we are no longer Ugly Radio. Right? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You show up. And when I initially wanted you to come on, we had this one thing in mind, and it's so much, but there's so much more that you and I had to catch up on, you know,
Yeah.
that I could go a whole extra hour on this thing.
We
you
were
know?
marching, and I looked back and saw, you know, I was like, wow. That's my God, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
That really made my heart warm.
Absolutely, man. Listen, you know,
Sometimes
it's like,
you look around, ain't nobody there. So.
brother, you know, I know that.
God.
I know what that's about.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that's
And
about.
that's a
When
rough
you-
feeling.
yeah.
Especially when you're trying to do right.
And it's crazy, you know, on the program before we came out, I was mentioning I'm going to be out there.
That's right.
You need to get out there and, you know,
That's good.
support this, because these things, you know, my thing is like, I don't run around looking for anybody to give me the props and all that stuff. As a matter of fact, I remember the schools, a couple of the schools that I work with, wanted to give me an award.
If you feel funny, right?
I was like, an award
Yeah.
for doing what I should be doing?
Right.
I mean,
But get your flowers
come on.
while you're living, bro.
Yeah, I hear that, but you know, I have such a hard time doing that.
I know, it's tough.
I really do. I have such a hard time getting awards.
Because it makes you look like you're trying to do it for the wrong
Exactly. And you know, I don't want young people to start getting in their heads that
reason. That you got.
you got to do this thing for, or you're going to get this award, or you know what I want them to think of? What they have contributed to society when they exit. I don't care what age you are, because, you know, some of us may make it on up to our later days, or some of us may drop off early. But whatever age you are when you drop off, make sure that you have contributed to society in some shape, form, or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's your legacy.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's what's going to live on. And especially if you got kids. Oh, my God. That's what... Look, I mentioned my mother's name. My mother's been gone since 2011.
Marvelous.
Man, I mentioned her name. I go to state houses. I remember one time him and I were walking here, and we ran into Joe Lieberman and just mentioned my mother's name. He's looking at me. He said, "You look so familiar." I mentioned my mother's name, and this man just... And
Lights
he
up,
he
man.
was able to witness that, you know?
Lights up.
Yeah. To hear how, man,
Yeah.
that's legacy.
That's legacy.
She did
She
her
put work.
part. Yeah, she did her part, just like you, Scott. Your name has been around since, God knows, since the 90s. You've been doing your thing. You're actually the 80s. You're right. Ever since the 80s. But the reason why I said the 90s is because I remember when I was working at a white rock station, and they had mentioned your name, and I said, "Yeah, that's my fam." They're like, "Oh," and they just dropped the convo. Because it's funny, because before that, Mike, who I wanted to be here, Mike Jefferson, remember he was on the AM station,
That's right.
called himself a rebel without a cause,
That's right.
or a rebel with a cause.
1340.
Yeah, he was like, he was something else. And I used to have to monitor that radio station.
Oh, okay.
Because,
I didn't know that.
yeah, come on, I was the only black person in there. So you monitor your competition.
Right.
So it was my job to monitor it. And plus it was sales too. So I was monitoring his show, one for content, two for sales.
Right.
I remember I'm sitting in a sales meeting, and the sales manager said, "You know, I feel for you. You know, you got to hear what he has to, or this that he's talking about. This, that. I know. That's how long you listen to him. Maybe probably like 3 minutes you probably listen to him, you know." I said, the question is not, the question should not be focused, or the focus should not be on what he said. The focus should be on why he have to say this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was the time when Malik Jones was a big thing then.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day also.
Yeah.
How far.
And the crazy thing, I didn't even know Mike at the time.
Oh, you did?
I didn't. You know, when I met him, like some 6 years later, was when our sons were they were best friends from kindergarten.
Wow.
His brother and his son were best friends from kindergarten all the way on up to like 7th, 8th grade when he went off to college. But yeah, I said it. He went off to college. You know, people didn't know that. You know, these kids they were number one and number two consistently in school.
Wow.
When they were over there at in East Rock, at Hooker,
Okay.
they were number one and number two every report card.
That's great.
They would just dominate. They were nothing to mess with.
Wow.
And he went on to 8th and then 9th, 10th, and then college.
Right.
But Jay, you know, he went through all the way to 12, but then he ended up a year. But then, you know, they were always so. Oh, they drove each other. I mean, that it was really. So by the way, when I met Mike, oh my God, I was like, and he said, yeah, you know, Mike Jefferson, brother. I'm like, he used to be on NAACP.
I can see you guys debating all day.
Oh my God, don't even start. Mike and I debate.
You guys
Oh,
can go
my
to the
God.
last show when Michael Jefferson was here. The back and forth was just
Yeah,
intense.
just check out the show. It's right there on
Yep.
YouTube.
I want to check it out.
Once
Right.
again, I got to thank Scot X, my main man, the president
Thanks for having me.
of the Connecticut chapter of the NAACP, as well as the.
I got one more thing to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, man, my name is still on the
So I
wall
talked
somewhere.
about the minority teacher recruitment.
Yes.
I want to talk about the Million Jobs campaign for the formerly incarcerated. That's another major issue
Okay.
in reference to mass incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
The difference of how, when you talk about discrimination,
Mhm.
and how you can evaluate and assess discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
I think an honest way to look at it, if you want to look at it from a thorough lens,
Mm-hmm.
I think you could look at the crack epidemic
Mm-hmm.
and then compare that to the opiate crisis,
Mhm.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And how
The
our community was treated
yes.
and how their community was treated during the opiate crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
And still are being treated.
right,
You know,
So if you
they're
were
being
to-
treated perfectly.
if you go off a highway now,
Mhm.
pretty much it's all white people begging for money at
Right.
the end of the exit,
Right.
right?
Right. You know, it's
During
so
the
many.
crack epidemic, you went to jail for that.
Right. Exactly.
You went to jail for that.
Exactly.
And then there was the three strikes you out,
Mm-hmm.
dirty urine. How many
Mhm.
dirty urines out there now,
Oh God, don't even start.
right?
Don't even start. And here's
And you go back to jail for dirty urine and stuff like that.
and here is one of the
There's
nasty.
no tolerance, zero tolerance, all that type of stuff during the crack epidemic.
Well, one of
You
the
see that
nasty.
now, though.
Right. One of the nasty excuses they're now using, they're like, well, you know, we see how bad it worked for the black community. So,
We're gonna
yes,
do it
we.
right now, right? We're gonna do it the right way.
Yeah. Now that it's us, oh, we saw what you niggas went through. We're not going to do that for us. You know, it's always
At
that.
the NAACP, I gotta be careful with the N-word.
Excuse me. Yeah. That's true.
That's why
That's
I
true.
gotta be
That's
very
true.
careful with that. So
I
come
know.
back and say,
Yes. We're going to have to edit that out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
No.
let you know.
No. Yeah. But,
So go ahead.
you know, it's like, you know, I drop the F-bomb left, right, left, but when I'm around pastors, I know better. You know, you give
Praise
space
the
and
Lord.
space.
Praise
You know?
the Lord.
You know what I'm saying? You give space and space.
Praise
So
the Lord. Gotta respect the good Reverend Doctor.
exactly.
Oh man.
Until I run into a pastor who don't mind. Hey, say that loud.
Say it a little louder, brother. Make it play.
Make a play.
You know, Scot X, you know, one thing that we'll talk about.
I'm finished with the Million Jobs campaign.
Go ahead.
All right, so the Million Jobs campaign is for individuals that were hit with mass incarceration, that
Mhm.
went to jail,
Mhm.
and either have a blemish or a felony on their record.
Mm.
And what we've done is
So how did they go to jail? They went through because of that.
everybody doesn't go to jail.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people plea out.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
Correct.
So they've been arrested
Uh-huh.
and they have a blemish on their record.
Right.
They might have pleaded out to a felony, but they
Mhm.
didn't go to jail, so they got probation or something like that.
Right.
So they didn't do time in jail.
Right.
But at the same time, that may affect them from getting
Getting
employment.
jobs, getting all types of stuff,
Right.
all kind of benefits.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they just asked the question, have you ever been arrested?
Right.
So that may stop you from being a police officer, a fireman, a correctional officer, or any of those type of governmental
Mhm.
jobs. So the point that I'm making to you is that we have created an initiative called the Million Jobs Campaign for the formerly incarcerated. And if you go to our website, millionjobscampaign.com, actually the program started here in New Haven,
Mhm.
where we blocked out 500 jobs at Yale New Haven Hospital for formerly incarcerated individuals. We got the
Oh.
program from Johns Hopkins Hospital
Okay.
down in
Baltimore, Maryland. Mhm.
and they have put out of their 50,000 jobs within their network, it's a very large hospital.
Mhm.
Within their 50,000 jobs within their network, they put 10% of their jobs, like 5,000 jobs.
5,000.
Right. So when I first heard about this program
Mhm.
through my travels,
Mhm.
I didn't believe it. So I said, I need to go down there and visit and see if this is real. So I looked up under the hood, kicked the tires to see if it was real. And I got a chance to talk to the brothers and the sisters down there. I was like, wow, this program is amazing. But if they could do this in Baltimore
Mhm.
with the relationships that I have in Connecticut,
Mhm.
with the Connecticut Hospital Association, which oversees all 27 hospitals in the state of Connecticut, imagine what we could do in Connecticut and set up a pilot for the nation for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we started the pilot. It's doing really good in New Haven.
How many former felonies do you have?
Over this last month, we had 42 individuals hired.
Dude,
excuse me, not month, quarter.
Okay, that's still a great number.
Right.
That's a great number.
We just started in Hartford.
Oh man.
Yeah, so we have 4
hospitals. Oh man.
We got 4 hospitals.
Oh,
let me just tell you this. So you got your calculator?
One second.
Go ahead.
All right.
Just hit it. I got you.
Get your calculator.
Go ahead. Break out the calculator. We good.
What's the number?
Okay, so if we get 10 brothers jobs at $30,000 a piece, and this is entry level jobs. Right?
300,000. I'll tell you right off the grip.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
am I right?
Hold on,
I didn't even get
there. Now, if we got 42 individuals jobs times 30,000.
3/4. 12 carried the 2.
126,000.
No. 1.2 million.
No.
1.26 million.
Said 42 times
30,000.
Yeah.
30,000. 30,000. Yep. 1.2.
That's the type of money that we brought back into the community.
Oh my goodness. That is great, right? That is
now,
great.
We got to hold up. We got the too now.
Okay.
And that's just in New Haven.
Right. So 15 plus 42 is what?
Plus 42.
57
times 30,000. And once again, we have
3, 6, 18 money.
1.7.
So over the last quarter,
I'm Raymaning it over here. Stop right. Go ahead.
So now that's just in the healthcare industry. We got to go into the construction industry.
Oh.
Into advanced manufacturing.
Whoa.
We have to go into retail.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go into making chefs and trucking and all that other stuff.
So you're looking at
this is just a spark of what we can
do.
Mm-hmm.
So people always talk about problems. These are solutions.
Right.
So
thank
if you
you.
want to come up with solutions, Dr. King and Malcolm X agreed that the greatest thing that social program out of all social programs is a job.
Right.
Right.
When you can bring some money to the table.
Correct.
Right.
And start building a family.
Right.
Start staying out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Being a constructive, positive individual in society.
Correct.
So that's what we're trying to do in the NAACP. So I wanted to let you know what we're doing and what we're striving to carry out. Not only here in Connecticut, but across the nation.
Brother, anything that I can do to help. And I am sincere.
Absolutely.
My sincerest open arms to you,
millionjobscampaign.com.
Listen, man.
Anything that job out there,
anything that I can do to help that cause or help push it, to help anything to say, because we're talking about our community.
That's right.
You know, and it's like, you know, I'm not getting any younger, you know.
That's right. So if you
I look young as hell.
Yeah. Let them know that, there's no excuses.
Well, the thing is that I'm very cautious how I say there's no excuses.
Right.
Because there are some people who try to say, oh, yeah, they're lazy. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. And they don't realize, or let me put it this way. They don't want to accept that there are different reasons why people don't do things.
Right.
In our community, one of the biggest handicap is mental health. There are functioning.
But there's mental health in all communities.
Yes. But there's
Fair across the board, but we have a lot of trauma.
We have mental health pile on with PTSD, pile on with lack of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So when you have that,
racism,
exactly, all the stuff that comes on. There's mental health out in certain communities, but you want to know something? There are communities, but there are community centers that bring in all types of stuff.
No. This is good. This is good. You got him on the ropes. You see George is coming out with another verb.
Get off the rope, Chad.
And he comes with another verb and another line and another back.
Lock him up.
You got him, King.
All right, another 30 seconds before we get into the next round.
No, but these are the things that our community face. We face so much. We have so much piled on us. You know, it's like, really. Oh my! Like for example, Scott, I was having a conversation with someone who asked me about New Hallville, for example, home ownership in the 60s and 70s. Whatever happened to all of those black home ownership? Did people just walk away? And I have to explain to that individual, you got to understand, the homes in New Hallville, and I told this story before, and I'll tell it again because I need more and more people to understand this. The homes in New Hallville, for example, they were built in the 1920s. By the time blacks got to them was the 1960s, 70s. That's 40 years of wear and tear. 40 years of wear and tear. In order for you to do any major repairs, you had to build up equity. That took another 15, 20 years. That even more. That 15, 20 years, by the time people build up some form of equity in there, well, there was the banks.
The loss of the factories. A lot of it was built off.
Right. Winchester. Right. And there were some part of it.
In the 80s.
Right. But here's the crazy part about it. Even when people have certain values in their home, the banks weren't lending any money because they would say you got lead and asbestos in your home. We can't take that chance. So after people put up the application fees, all this type of stuff, then they can't even get the money. So then on top of it, you had the crack pandemic that just was pushed into our neighborhood. Ain't one poppy field. Yes, not one poppy field in New Harvey. Mm-hmm. But it was flooded in there. Guns, all types of stuff. Everything negative. So when you look at that, someone say, well, I can't even get the money to fix up my home. And I got to deal with all of this. No, I'm just going to leave it. Walk away. So that was now gentrification, my friend. And I'm giving it another 5 years, maybe 7. Lincoln Bassett is going to be just as big as Worthington Hooker. I'm talking about the junior high schools because white folks are moving in. And that's what we have to deal with. These are all the traps, the trappings that our people have to consist in. Exactly.
That's a reflection of what's going to happen in America.
Look,
in Detroit.
I live downtown New Haven, and I got to tell you, every time I look out my window,
It's changed, right?
And there is right across the street from me, and by the Foot Locker there. I'm upstairs in the big building. I look down there. New construction just started last week.
Yeah.
Behind that, there's another construction. There's one over on Crown Street, Church Street South coming up. The old Coliseum. All of this. I look over towards Worcester Square. Those two, the old Comcast building. Yeah, the old Comcast and the old Smoothie building have a new add-on to the front end of it. You look
by the Fed building.
Exactly. All of this stuff. New buildings coming up. You go up Orange Street. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm asking.
Oh, definitely not for us.
Mm-hmm. What's the average cost of an apartment?
Average cost of an apartment downtown New Haven. Let me size it up. You're doing a single family. A single bedroom. I don't mean single family. Single bedroom. One bedroom is somewhere in the ballpark of $2,100 to $2,400 a month. One bedroom. Now, that's the listed. That's exactly. But that's the listed. Now you go in there with a little color on you.
Right. It's gonna go up.
Oh, absolutely.
What about 2-bedroom?
2 bedrooms, you're in the 3s. You're in the 3s.
So they're pricing us out.
Oh, totally pricing us out.
Classes.
Well, not even classism. That's just.
Well, if you got the money.
Yeah, well, no, even if you got the money, they'll jack you up. But
those that can pay can stay.
Depends.
Okay.
And the reason why it depends.
Explain to me why.
Look, I got into the space, and I'm brave enough to say, and I'm bold enough to say, it's because I was married to a white woman.
Wow.
Let's be very clear.
And if you wasn't, you'd have a problem.
I would have had to pay more. I am quite certain I probably would have had to pay more. I know when I went.
That's a clear sign of discrimination.
Dude, I went to the Corsair at first.
Are you saying that there's discrimination in housing in America?
let alone in New Haven? When I went to, the one thing I got to say about my building that I do like is that they did set aside a units for low income. I appreciate
some affordable housing.
Yeah, I hate that word affordable because that's so subjective.
Just let you know that's what people know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, right. Because from the minute you say affordable, hell, somebody who's making $100,000 a year. Relative. Yeah, it's all relative. It's all subjective. But, I remember going up to the Corsair when they were just opening. That's the one up on Station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
I went into some. Oh, my God. Yeah. The treatment I got there when my white wife walked in behind me, things changed.
You can see the difference in that.
Of course you can see Listen, I recall many times we were in New York. Couldn't catch a cab. That's one reason I love Uber. Uber, even
Changed
the
the
plane
game.
play, it changed the game.
I could tell you what I've been through. I mean,
I can
freezing
imagine.
cold.
I can imagine.
No one would stop.
No one would stop. You know how we used to have to do it in New York?
What?
I'll stand back with my son on the
That's right.
side. She'll go
Then
out,
jump
raise
up.
her hand. I'll never forget one time she raised her hand. Guy came jetting all the way across from the other side of the road, cutting off cars, came over, got her. So she left the door open, and I'm coming. He's telling her, close the door, close the door. She said, no, that's my husband. And it's like,
Let me tell you this, though.
and that's some ish.
There was black cab drivers that did it also.
Of course,
And
yes.
also individuals that were Indian,
Yeah,
Hispanic.
but that's the guy who did it to us.
But the point I'm making is that
Mhm.
it doesn't matter the color to carry out white supremacy.
That's true.
That's back to our original dialogue,
Yes, that's true.
right?
You get these bicos. Yes, listen, man.
Right. They're all
No.
carrying out white supremacy.
Yep.
Mhm.
The bicos, dicos, black and black in
What else?
color only. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Or darkness in color only.
Yeah.
You want to?
There's so many of them passed me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And it's like
It
you
wasn't just white people.
look when you see
You gotta
this,
call it what it is.
you have to. Scott, look, man, I love talking with you.
Yeah, man.
I-
We can go on for hours.
We could go on and on,
I'm
but
there though, man.
I'm going to be on your program.
Yeah, man.
I'm definitely
I
gonna
gotta
come
do a
on.
feature on you, man.
Absolutely,
You're an
man. I
amazing
appreciate
person,
you.
man.
I appreciate you, man.
And we appreciate you. Man.
The
NAACP appreciates you, man. Just keep
You know-
doing your thing, man. Keep working with young people.
that's my thing.
That's
It's
important,
just to keep working with young people
Yeah,
and try to
man.
push them forward as
Keep 'em
much
going.
as
You gotta
possible.
pass it to somebody.
Listen, man, I'm not getting any younger.
And we're not gonna.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there's
I
no
don't care
such
who
thing.
you are.
I
All
just
the time is undefeated.
I just saw a
know
report.
that, right?
Yeah, but totally. I just saw a report recently that they're coming up with a pill to make you stay young. This and that. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna look it, but your body gonna be like, listen, I'm sitting down. The heart's gonna be like, yo, I need to stop.
Right.
Yeah, you might look young,
Yeah.
but that body, that inner,
Wear and tear.
that wear and tear on the inside is gonna be
It's
like,
not
you
built
know.
to last forever.
There you go. My good man, I thank you so much.
I
Let them know
appreciate
some
you,
more
man.
about you, where they could.
If you want to reach us, you go to
Mhm.
ctnaacp.org.
Mhm,
ctnaacp.org, or you go to millionjobscampaign.com.
mhm.
And if you always want to reach me, man, you can always reach out to me on social media also. And I'm under Scott with one T, X, my middle initial, Esdaile, Esdaile.
By the way, I gotta say this. Gotta understand, his grandmother
Yeah.
was my grandma,
Flo,
Flo, and
Yeah.
Mama Pop Esdaile.
Dickerman Street.
Dickerman Street, 15 Dickerman Street. Don't even play with me. I could tell you. Oh, did I put something on? It's still a family home, right?
Nah, we sold it.
Oh, you sold it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I remember that street. Hey, listen, first of all, the reason why I bring that up is you got to understand where this man get all of his oomph from.
Marcus Garvey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
His grandparents
That's right.
were so strong in community.
Yeah, man.
They literally built a black community here in the city of
That's
New
right.
Haven.
Wow.
His grandparents, okay, I got to tell the story here.
I had no choice.
There you go. He had no choice. My mother came to this country. Who you think? I'll tell you this.
First place she stayed. I remember when she came.
Exactly.
I remember when y'all
Yep,
came.
right? It was his grandparents. You got to understand, we have this fam thing. You don't understand. It is so strong. They built St. Luke's. The church we're talking about, in case
Well,
you
they
don't
didn't
know.
build it, but they were the first generation.
They were the first generation to
They
actually
helped
do
sustain
something.
it.
Right. And the thing about it is,
The Antillian College.
the Antillian Center over there
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
what's the street? Oh gosh, how could I forget?
The Elks.
The Elks that
Everybody had
did.
to be an Elk.
Exactly.
That's right, the Elks
You have to
parade.
be an Elks. Yep.
The Elks
Uh,
ball.
The Elks ball was
Huge.
huge,
Yeah.
humongous.
Gulf Street Army.
Yep. The Gulf Street
It
Army.
was like Hollywood, man.
Absolutely.
Blocked the whole street up.
It was like Hollywood.
That's right. Red carpet.
Man, oh man, you brought
Everybody
it
in
back.
tuxedo.
Yep, you brought it back.
Women in white dresses.
Those were the great days.
It's
His
amazing.
grandparents,
Yeah.
they actually bought Malcolm X here.
That's right.
They bought they did I think no, it wasn't Adam Clayton. He was born here.
He was born on Foot Street.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Ashland Street.
Ashman Street. Yep.
His
Well,
father used to be the minister at Emmanuel Baptist.
exactly. Exactly.
Calvin Bush just passed away.
Right.
God bless the dead.
Yes.
And he also was the minister at Abyssinian Baptist Church after Adam Clayton.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
ever see the movie Godfather Harlem? Or the series?
The series, I saw part of it, and then all of a sudden, Epics, Frontier cut Epics.
Oh, what?
Yeah, in our building, they just cut it, and it fell out of my package. I was like, what the hell? I'm quite sure with Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Is that right? I'll check it out. My man Scot X. It's always a pleasure having you on here.
With Joe Ugly, no cosmetic zone.
For real.
Keep it a buck.
There you go. All right, good people.
Love you, man.
Gotta let you guys know you're checking us out on Videos and Voices of the Unheard. We are, of course, 2V Stream, a global youth media initiative. And you kept it ugly with me and my great fam, Scot X.
My brother.
All right, take us out, man. Let's do this.
What you gonna put on? What kind of music is that?
Now we're just taking it raw.
Oh, okay.
Just drop it.
Smoothed out.
Yo.